So here's another question I'd have for you. A lot of times we come up with things that are a little bit more time and trouble to make, and I want to know if they're worthwhile. Now, on all the moving parts on this, as you know, we have high-tech bronze bushings with SAE 30 oil impregnated in the bushings. Is it worth it?
I'll tell you what, I've had some old style like Oklahoma Joe cookers, and after they wear for a while, when you lift the door they just make ungodly creaking noises, and it's kind of annoying after a while. But listen to this, there's nothing there. And if I'm cooking next to somebody and they're using one of those and they start making all that noise, I'll in fact go out of my way to point that out. Say, hey, listen to my door. I say, you know, if you buy one of these, listen, you're going to have that. No sound whatsoever. Same thing on the firebox here. There's no noise whatsoever. It's nice and quiet. People don't know when I'm up in the middle of the night.
While we're doing this, Tricia, let's see if you can just come over here and get a picture of what Mike refers to as this L plate. And that's why I'm just pulling this out part way right here, just to see that it's movable. And that comes up horizontally, and then it has a vertical plate. And that vertical plate actually forms the back wall for his charcoal box.
Yeah, everything in the firebox comes apart for cleaning. I had it. I went to the car wash earlier, and I had everything out, and I can pressure spray it. And then when I'm done, I put it all back in. It makes it very easy to clean the charcoal, the ash out, and it's remarkably easy to use.
Now, another thing that you like is, maybe you can comment on this. Your air comes in, and it has to come under the L plate.
Right. That's one thing. Originally, on my Horizon cooker I had, the door, the air intake was all over. It was up. You know, it was shaped like I don't know, strange-looking doors that you could slide back and forth. And when I was done cooking, I'd have unburnt pieces of wood, unburnt pieces of charcoal, and I just sat and I looked at it. I said, what is going on here? And I thought about what was going on, and I realized most of the air was coming in on top of the fire. With this L plate, you butt it up against the door. Now, when your air comes in low, the air has to come in under that plate, and the only place you can go is underneath the fire. That's by far the most efficient place for air to come in for a fire, underneath. And that way, as the ash falls away, you have clean burning fuel. If it comes in on top, what happens is you get charcoal burning or wood burning, and the ash will sit on top of unburned fuel, and it chokes the rest of it out. So it's very inefficient. By far, the most efficient way is to bring the air in underneath.
Now, we've talked to some extent about the standard meat monster, the non-competition model that has a crank-up mechanism for grilling steaks, etc. And we are working on a design where we could move this door back slightly and still have the crank-up. You really, in competition, you don't really use the crank-up, is that right?
No, I understand that the standard meat monster, you've got it set up so you can actually put charcoal in the cook chamber, and if say you had a party and you needed to cook 50 or 60 steaks, I mean, you'd be in business, you can do that with the crank-up. Now, as far as, this one, to me, this is just a competition model. That's all I use it for, and I really have no need for that. But, yeah, I mean, if you wanted, if you were a weekend hobbyist that you wanted to cook 1 or 2 competitions a year or more than that and still have the ability to do some vending or catering where you needed to cook a bunch here, and you could even have the convection fan in there where you could, I think you can get, what did we figure out? You can get about 30 butts or 36 butts on one of these?
Yeah, it's about 32 butts.
32 butts? I mean, if you had the convection fan, you could cook your 32 butts on there, and you could cater a big party or vend or something like that. And if you had the best of both worlds, this firebox, you had the crank, and you had the cook chamber, it'd be pretty versatile, I think. Now, I don't have that need, but boy, if Bill wants to build it for you, by all means, go for it.
Now, when you're out on camp, so to speak, sometimes you grill steaks in here too, right? You do them in here or up there?
No, steaks really need to be cooked hot. We cook our steaks. We grill pizza in there. I do pork tenderloins. Tenderloins need to be cooked very hot. I'm trying to think what else we cooked in there. Oh, lamb chops. We'll do a rack of lamb, and right there. It'll be right up against this fire right here.
Now you are making me hungry at 6:30.
Right.
And then, so up here you cook your shoulders and your brisket?
Shoulders, actually, I cook on the lower level, pork, and I cook my briskets right here on the upper level at 300. So, yeah.
Are the briskets the only thing you cook up here?
No, you cook ribs up here too. Because I mean, depending on what you, I like to cook ribs hot. Some people don't, but I think they do better if you cook them hot.
In a competition cookout, how much, average temperature during the cooking season, how much charcoal do you use?
If it's summer, for one cook-off, I'll start the cooker at approximately 4 p.m. That's just to get it up to temperature, and I don't start putting meat on it till usually about 5:30. I'll start putting brisket on. Now I cook my brisket a little bit different. I'll take it up to temperature where it's done at 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I pull it off and wrap it and I rest it, and then I bring it back in foil in the morning and bring it back up to temperature. And I do that to break all the collagen down so it's tender. But I start it at 4 o'clock and I run it at 300 degrees until about 1 in the morning, and then I crank it down to about 270, and it runs till about 1 p.m. the next day. And somewhere about 2:30 or so I start cleaning the ashes out. And I go through and I burn no wood whatsoever. I just burn charcoal, I burn lump and briquettes. And at night I put briquettes in it because they just burn a little slower. But I only burn 30 to 35 pounds of charcoal, which is less than 2 big bags.
And you use a little wood with that?
And I don't burn any wood.
No wood?
No. There's in the lump charcoal, that is wood. It's actual wood burnt down to charcoal, and it gives wood flavor without any of the bad particulate matter that you would get from burning actual green wood or unburned wood, unburned charcoal.
You use any briquette type of charcoal?
Yeah, I use briquettes. At night, like I say, I shove everything in one side and I fill it up with briquettes. And the reason is the briquettes burn real steady, and I crank my guru down to 270. And I know that in the morning they'll still be 270 degrees, and the briquettes will still be burning, and I don't have to worry about my fire at all. That way I can get 5 hours of sleep. You have to remember, sometimes we drive 800-900 miles to do a contest, and Saturday afternoon I'm heading home, and I have to get enough sleep where I'm not falling asleep on the interstate. So we want to drive maybe 300 or 400 miles before we stop and sleep. So I want to get a good night's sleep. There's no reason for anybody to be up all night tending a fire, especially when you have a cooker like this where you don't have to worry about it. You could put your guru on there, put some charcoal in the firebox, and you're ready to go. You can take a nap.
Well, from everything I see, you're having a really good year with this, aren't you?
We've done pretty well with it. I've got 2 grand champions with it. I've got several reserves and a bunch of thirds, and we've done real well in categories. And we really just started using this cooker. There was a learning curve on it. I used it twice last year, and we started using it. We didn't use it early in the year, and I think we've used it about 14 times or so, and somewhere around there. I know we had when we cooked, we had used it 12 times. We had 8 top 10s, and 2 of those were grands, 3 were reserves, and I think a third or so, and then like a 5th and stuff. So. Yeah, out of 12 times we had 8 top 10s, which is a pretty good record for the cooker, considering that we hadn't used it before. And but now, I mean, their learning curve on it is nothing. I mean, it takes no time to learn how to use it at all, because there's no tricks to it. It'll just do whatever you want it to do.
So it's easy.
Very easy to cook on. Easy to clean. I really like it. We used a round Peoria custom cooker. Previously, I think we had 9 or 10 grand championships on it. It was a very nice cooker. This one is what I like about it. We made the firebox a little bit bigger, and the cooker itself is just more compact. It's just easier to move around, and it's easier for me. I mean, we get there, my wife can move it around. She can lift the lids on it.
And the departure, because this is new to a lot of people who are used to the round design, so the departure from the round design to the rectangular design hasn't been a big difference.
No, I don't know that there's any much difference in the way they cook. Like I say, the main difference would be that you do trap some heat up here, so when you close it, you've got this much heat left down there, and it comes back up to temperature a little bit quicker.
And it makes the lower level easier for you to use.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've actually got more cook space because you've got a square design here. And realistically, like you talked about this, the round design came from Oklahoma, where they had a bunch of oil pipe laying around and they didn't know what to do with it. So they started making cookers out of it. And I mean, you're not wasting pipe that way, but you know, if you want to start and build a nice cooker from the ground up, it's really probably not the most efficient way to go. But if you had free pipe, I mean, why not do it? But I mean, if you're going to build something from the ground up, this is the way to go. You know, bend it up and you have more space.
Now we've made 2 fully insulated smokers for you. This rectangular design and also the round design.
Right.
So would you say that regardless of the round or the rectangular, it's an advantage to have the main cooking chamber in addition to this?
Right. Like I spoke to you, both of the cookers have had the same firebox basically. The other one was 2 inches shorter, and we extended this one 2 inches out so that we could use the aluminum pans in there to catch the grease. I did in the other one use the aluminum pans, but I had to smush them up in there a little bit. But the firebox was the same, but yeah, I mean, there's really not much difference in between the round and the rectangular, except the weight and the wasted space on the other one. I much prefer cooking on this one. It's just, if I was going to a cook-off by myself, I could easily take this one. I can move it around. I got a dolly here. I can move it around real easily. The other one there was quite a bit more weight to it. You know, just because it physically was a bigger cooker, even though it had less cook space. So we really like this. And you know, a lot of people see this at cook-offs and they're really impressed with it. So I think you're going to sell a few of these.
Well, the next one we've got to get you the stainless steel stack so you shine.
Well, you know, I think I'm past that point. This one is kind of a funny looking little cooker, you know, because the firebox looks so big in relationship to the cook chamber. But you know what? I really don't care what it looks like. I really care what it cooks like. So, you know, they can laugh at me when I put it for a trophy.
It's unconventional. That's the thing that we come up against when we talk to customers a lot of time. But the design is for a reason.
Right.
You know? And I think that as more of these get out there, it'll be less unconventional.
Right.
Well, thanks again, Mike.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Tricia.